Students, have you ever made a teacher cry? I was 17 and failing chemistry badly. Mr. Chen was this quiet guy who'd been teaching for 30 years, always wore the same faded blue tie, and never raised his voice even when kids were being complete idiots. Most students thought he was boring, but I could tell he actually cared about us learning even when we didn't care back. The problem was, I had severe dyslexia that made reading chemical formulas look like random squiggles dancing on the page. Numbers and letters would flip around, making H2O look like H20 or worse. I'd been too embarrassed to tell anyone about my learning disability, so I just sat in the back row pretending to take notes while failing every single test. My parents were furious. They'd threatened to take away my car, ground me until graduation, and make me repeat senior year if my chemistry grade didn't improve. They thought I was just being lazy or spending too much time playing video games instead of studying. I'd tried everything on my own. Flashcards, study groups, YouTube videos, even paying my friend Tommy $5 to explain the periodic table. Nothing worked. The symbols still looked like hieroglyphics, and I felt stupider every day. One Friday after another failed exam where I scored a brutal 23%, Mr. Chen asked me to stay after class. I figured he was going to lecture me about effort or recommend expensive tutoring my family couldn't afford. The classroom emptied out, leaving just me and him surrounded by posters of molecular structures. Instead of yelling, he pulled out my test paper covered in red marks. "Connor, I've been teaching chemistry for 3 decades, he said quietly, adjusting his thick glasses. I can tell when a student isn't trying, and I can tell when a student is struggling with something much bigger than just chemistry." I just stared at my desk, completely humiliated. "I think you might have a learning difference. Would you be willing to let me help you after school? No charge, no judgment, just us working together until things start making sense." For the next 2 months, Mr. Chen stayed with me every Tuesday and Thursday until 5 p.m. He created color-coded charts with different fonts, used highlighters to separate elements, and even drew cartoon pictures to help me understand molecular structures. He'd print everything in larger text and give me extra time to process information. Slowly, painfully, things started clicking. Hydrogen became a friendly blue circle, oxygen turned into a red square, and chemical equations started looking less like alien code and more like actual science. He never made me feel stupid for asking the same question 5 times. He'd just patiently draw it out again with different colored pens until my brain finally got it. On our last tutoring session before the final exam, I handed him something I'd been working on for weeks, a 3-page handwritten thank you letter explaining how he'd completely changed my life. I told him about my dyslexia diagnosis, how I'd felt stupid for years, and how he was the first teacher who saw me struggling instead of just assuming I was lazy. When he finished reading, Mr. Chen took off his glasses and wiped his eyes with his sleeve. His voice cracked as he said, "Connor, in 30 years of teaching, no student has ever told me I made a real difference in their life. I was actually thinking about retiring this year because I felt like I wasn't reaching anyone anymore." I passed that final exam with a B+, but more importantly, I finally understood that asking for help wasn't giving up. It was the bravest thing I could do. Mr. Chen taught for 5 more years after that conversation, helping dozens more students who struggled like me. Sometimes the best teachers aren't the ones who make learning look easy, they're the ones who make struggling feel okay.